Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be reviewing the August 18th to 19th Godfest that is coming to North America starting tomorrow. Furthermore, this Godfest will also debut the brand new 7-star Godfest exclusive Madoo, who is quite powerful and interesting. Unfortunately, this Godfest is quite sad or lackluster overall, not only because we have mostly because we have a very small pool of 6/7-star Godfest exclusives to actually draw upon, because this seems to be the trend that is occurring nowadays. In the past, we had maybe 20 to 22 6 stars featured, and now we have 15 6 stars featured, and then either 1 or 2 7-star Godfest exclusives. So this is not really a fair compromise, because for the most part, a 6-star Godfest exclusive has about a 0.6% chance, and 7 stars have like 0.3 or 0.5. It can fluctuate and vary, but the point of the matter is we have a significantly lower chance of rolling something of value as opposed to even just a couple of months ago. So maybe Gung Ho's logic is we insert one new 7-star Godfest exclusive and we can take away 5 6 stars because, it totally maths out and compensates. Because of this, Godfests have become quite sad now, because this was the same pattern as was last time. And due to the fact that Japan did have a kind of like a sevens themed Super Godfest very recently, it is not an unlikely scenario, against purely speculation at this point in time, that North America will have a Super Godfest along those lines in about 2 to 3 months' time. So even if that does not come true, it's generally worth not spending your magic stones here. But for the sake of this video, I will be still reviewing the new Godfest exclusive, as well as the various tweaks and changes I've made to my own personal tier list. So for the August 18th to 19th Godfest, we have, like I said, 15 6 stars and only 2 7 stars featured. And then the rest that are not available cannot be rolled during this period of time. So in an ideal world, you actually really want to line up a Godfest that has ideally high rolling rates with cards that actually have merit or value to your box. Yes, getting duplicates is valuable for the monster exchange system, but generally speaking, if it's the very first time you acquired XYZ Godfest exclusive, it tends to be a little more powerful for the most part. Now, with that being said, it looks like Godfests are going to be kind of sad times moving forward, so it may be best to just simply wait for like Super Godfest or like high value collabs. So looking at Madoo, so she's got 2 distinct evolution paths, but they both share the exact same active skill of +2 combo count for 1 turn, and then 2 turn delay on a 14-turn cooldown. So there is a bit of a problem with this active skill. The fact that, yes, +2 combo count is becoming more common, but the fact that it's paired with a 2-turn delay is not quite ideal. And the reason is because when you're utilizing +2 combo count, you're pretty much going to be saying, I'm going to kill this floor. So the delay aspect does not really have much value. And if you're using it for the delay aspect, a 14-turn cooldown for 2-turn delay is not very helpful either. So it's just an unfortunate active skill that's combining 2 components that can be beneficial, but have very little synergy together, and that makes it have a very long and lengthy cooldown. In terms of their leader skill, they are the first kind of blob style leader that has the ability to basically activate off of any element match. So you connect 5 or 6 depending on the evolution you choose, and you get high amounts of damage. But you can connect 5 poison orbs, 5 jammers, you can connect hazards. It doesn't matter if you have those colors on your team. As long as you connected 5 of something, you are going to be dealing damage. So that does have interesting applications, and it means you almost always can activate unless you truly had a bizarre board of only 4 of each element, which I find highly unlikely. So you can at least activate, and your damage component has a large shielding aspect tied into the blob matching part. So for the most part, her void damage penetration form tends to be the superior leader and sub and just form in general, because you have this RCV component, and the RCV component is a big deal. Yes, you must use fire attribute cards for the whole multiplier, but there are plenty of strong fire cards overall, and you only have to worry about health. So basically, you have damage reduction, you have a recovery component, you have modestly high damage output. So she is able to form actually a very powerful leader. But the main problem is, it's going to be such a rare and challenging to acquire leader that you might have difficulty finding friends to actually pair with. And that probably is going to be her biggest hurdle. This form here has 144 times attack, which is kind of like Edward or Vraska levels, but her own personal damage output will be lower, mostly because she has TPAs and VDPs and not 7 combo awakenings, which are much more universally powerful. And amusingly enough, connecting 5 red orbs does not trigger your TPA, it triggers your damage aspect. So it's kind of like she has kind of counterintuitive awakenings, in my opinion. But in terms of her awakenings, the double void damage penetration gives her 6.25 times personal damage. So it's giving Fire another viable option for VDP, which is a big deal because let's say you're using a Fire-based team or you're using Joy Reparative Anubis, let's say. You want to be able to actually utilize VDP in some way, shape, or form. Madoo gives you that option. Plus, if you are able to incorporate those TPAs, like you make your 3x3 box, you incorporate TPAs, her own personal damage skyrockets to lethal levels, and she should be able to sweep most spawns. So, again, just having more options is really an important aspect of Puzzle & Dragons, because then you can basically clear more content with less effort or more efficiently. But other than that, like, yes, it's a strong leader, but the problem is it's going to be hard to find friends. She is rare, and her value as a sub or an inherit is quite low by comparison. Like, as a sub, if you need VDP, she can be a viable sub. If you don't, not so great, because TPAs don't have much place. You're not going to be forming a 3x3 box on a regular basis, so her own personal damage output will be quite low. So she will generally be overshadowed by most 7 combo awakening subs. And if you are looking for an inherit, you are almost always going to find a better option for +2 combo count or delaying, unless you have actually nothing left or nothing else in your monster box to choose from. So this tier list is seeing some shifts and changes based on the stream announcements in Japan, which some of these cards have now gone live, as well as just tweaks to existing cards in North America. So Madoo is still very powerful. She's going to debut at S because, well, she is still a powerful leader and she can fulfill roles that can't necessarily be fulfilled otherwise. But in terms of movement, Amino goes up 1 from A to S. Dark Metatron goes from B to S. She could possibly be in a tier of her own just because of how strong her new Mega Awoken evolution is. Blue Sonya went down from S to A. That happened during the Super Godfest time, but I'm explaining why now. Paimon and Balden go from A to B. And then Raijin, Kana, Natalya, and Gremory go from B to C. So in this Godfest itself, only taking into account the featured cards, like we have a modest spread of cards overall, but like I said, this is a small pool to draw from. You're better off waiting for pretty much almost any other event. This is like the bottom of the barrel in terms of the chances of you rolling a valuable card, so I would honestly just skip it, but it's just nice to kind of see what is happening. So Amino goes from A to S, and this is because he received a nice split evolution in Japan that gives him like void damage penetration, an easy to activate leader skill, high amounts of damage, great amounts of recovery. He can still farm dungeons very fast and efficiently, but having the VDP attached to himself or herself, I don't recall, makes them significantly more powerful because remember, double leaders with VDP and a very high multiplier means you're able to pierce through spawns. So they're going to become, I think she's going to become an even better Arena 3 farmer than before, but she also can branch and split and do many other things because now her multiplier is actually very high. Conversely, Dark Metatron kind of shoots up into the stratosphere, so to speak, because she becomes incredible with her Mega Awoken evolution, because it revamps her entire kit. She now has amazing awakenings. She's got an incredible active skill that has beautiful synergy with her now possibly unstoppable leader skill. So her leader skill only affects God type cards, which is fine. There's a big enough pool to draw upon, but you have 4 times health and 225 times attack multiplier. Very healthy, very high amounts of damage. And you could have just stopped there and this would have been actually a pretty decent leader. But Gung-Ho goes a step further and gives her a 43.75% damage reduction multiplier when you hit 7 or more combos. So you almost have 8 times effective health. So in co-op, you can tank damaging hits that do 1,000,000 damage with an Indra shield. Like, these are things that we're not supposed to do on a regular basis. Like, you can do crazy amounts of stuff. You can basically withstand you can withstand easily any preemptive and almost every execution except for the truly outrageous stuff you see in Alt Arena. So this is amazing. Like, she's nigh immortal. And yes, recovery may or may not be an issue, but you can use the Future Farmable Descend card EIR. I can't pronounce it properly, but it will help address the healing output potential on your team. Now, I've said her awakenings are amazing. She has the exact same awakenings as Yusuke, so double 7 combo and VDP. So she's doing so many amazing things at the same time. And in Japan, like, some of the tier list websites have ranked her as SS, the only leader to be in that category. So they're basically saying she's a step above everything else. And I can see why that's the case, because she can easily withstand pretty much any damage incoming, as well as having that damage reduction aspects. So gravities are not as lethal compared to things like, say, Vraska teams who have 4 times health, because you at least mitigate a large chunk of the incoming damage. Now, she is possibly maybe overhyped. We don't know. Again, those tier lists tend to rank things very high upon initial release to get kind of like get the people excited, so to speak. But again, it might be perfectly justifiable because from the videos I've seen, she can do pretty amazing stuff. And the fact that reincarnated Izanagi got significantly buffed makes Dark Metatron even more viable at this point in time. I did do a first impressions video. You can watch it on my YouTube channel here. Maybe you have already. It kind of goes into a bit more detail along with the other buffs that are happening in Japan. Blue Sonny goes from S to A, and this is mostly to reflect the fact that her sub-pool is quite shallow. Yes, there are some strong blue dragons, but while Amatsu is often considered an amazing card, he has actually less synergy on Blue Sonny teams than Blue Cotton. So yes, Blue Cotton is still good, but the thing is, like, you're just stacking more health when Blue Sonny teams really need recovery by comparison. And the fact that there's no like Odin Dragon or Ragnarok Dragon equivalent makes her a little more tougher to use when playing through content like Arena 3. So Green Sonny has that little bit of an edge by comparison. With that being said, Blue Sonny is still an amazingly strong card. She can easily waltz through Arena 3 and have the damage control to deal with all the absorption spawns, bring one Fujin just to make your life a little happier, and you're basically going to be on your merry little way. Paimon goes from A to B, mostly because the new Mirror Evolution, while strong, is just not as incredible as maybe I was hoping it would be. Heart Crosses don't necessarily get revitalized just because they are still awkward, and Paimon is still a big health stick, so he is amazing on the new Miru teams, but his other applications are quite small by comparison. Like, he was oftentimes used on Yogg teams for a bit of extra health and orb enhance for damage, but now Yogg comes with his own built-in follow-up attack, so again, Paimon's usage has declined because his base active skill is not that impactful and still a 7-turn cooldown. Baldwin goes from A to B, and this is because, yes, his Killer Awakenings are valuable, but his base active skill is too long to really work around. Like, you can use him as a sub, he can be an effective, efficient card to snipe down key targets, but again, if they don't have the right typings, his Killer Awakenings have less value, and generally speaking, cards with double 7 combo are more universally helpful, unless you need particularly high damage against a specific spawn, and that's kind of the main reason why Baltan drops. If Baltan had a shorter base cooldown, definitely could be useful, but his current active skill is just not strong enough to really do much on most teams. And then last, and I guess least, is Raijin, Kana, Natalya, and Gremory. All 4 of these cards really have very little applications at this point in time, and in my opinion, those would be the first ones I'd trade away if I had the option to through the Monster Exchange system. Mostly because their active skills are lackluster. You don't want to actually inherit them for most content. Their Awakenings lack 7 combos, so it's harder to justify using on most traditional teams, and their leader skills are nothing special either, so they're just... I need to demote them down just to reflect the fact that they are just nowhere near as competitive compared to the other options in B, so to speak. So, basically, in summation, this Godfest is quite lackluster. Not only, like, the actual lineup is okay, the distribution is reasonable, but the main problem is there's just so few cards in the pool, so again, I would honestly skip this Godfest. It may sound like I'm repeating myself, but I want to just drive home that point that this is not a good Godfest. So then next, I just kind of wanted to touch upon how the Godfest exclusive trading post or the Monster Exchange system works. If you have 4 of the 4 6-star Godfest exclusives, you're able to trade those in for a rare collab card of your choice. So this kind of prevents the need to actually roll in collabs. So rolling heavily in Super Godfest to acquire these trade fodders allow you to exchange them in for a card of your choice. Your life becomes significantly easier and happier overall, and it's just a great system for the most part. So with that in mind, you should never really sell any of your 6-star Godfest exclusives and just keep them around because they can be valuable trade fodder, or maybe they get a Mega Awoken Evolution in the future. But generally speaking, when trading in, you want to try and use duplicates if at all possible. So during Godfest, the Pantheon and former 5-star Godfest exclusives lose their highlighted status. They kind of drop down to like Godfest 6-star Godfest exclusive rolling rates. It's not really big of a deal. It's just kind of just letting you know that when they say they're featured beforehand or highlighted, they lose that status to make room for the Godfest exclusives moving in. So in terms of the featured cards, this is not an exhaustive list. I just want to touch upon what is currently available. So the Samurai 2 Pantheon did receive new evolutions, which gives them more diversification and specialization. So Their active skills and their base forms give you +2 combo count and a tri or a 5 elemental board changer. And this is quite powerful for a wide variety of teams. Like, who doesn't want to have a plus combo count and a tri elemental board? Like, Nene, for instance, can be a great use case here to get his 2 colors, hearts, +2 combo count. Follow-up attacks become trivial when you have to hit 7 combos when you actually have a cheat with +2. So they do gain more value. They're a very strong Pantheon, but unfortunately a strong Pantheon does not justify rolling in this Godfest because the Godfest itself is lacking a lot of valuable cards. Now, in terms of the former 5-star Godfest exclusive, Tsubaki has now become incredibly powerful because in Japan, she received a buff to gain a 3rd Dragon Killer through Super Awakenings, which means she also can be limit broken. So not only will she have 27 times personal damage against Dragon-type spawns, she'll have high-weighted stats, a low base cooldown, 2 skill boosts, and to a certain extent makes her the most effective dragon-killing card in the game. So amazing news for players who own Tsubaki, but again, not justification enough to roll in this event. And lastly, in terms of the other featured former Godfest exclusives, Sumire with their weapon assist and the skill Bind Resist Awakening can be useful in certain niche or farming applications. So again, collabs versus Godfest. Generally speaking, a more veteran player with a deeper box has more value from collabs because they provide cards that you cannot replicate elsewhere. They provide more niche or specialized roles, but for a new player, you need to roll really in Godfest overall because the regular reg machine has kind of like the core or base units to build a strong monster box foundation. So again, it's all up to personal preference and what you are really chasing and what you need for your monster box, but that's kind of the general assumption I do make. So again, this Godfest is poor. I would just honestly wait for something stronger. So in conclusion, like, we don't know what's necessarily going to come out in the next couple of months, but I feel that there is a modestly high possibility that there will be a 7s themed Super Godfest in the next couple of months because the event in Japan was not tied to an anniversary or a special milestone or whatnot. It was basically just Yama P, the creator of Pad, hit rank 777, so it's not a timing issue. So again, it should just be the several months delay that we normally experience, and we might be having it maybe around Halloween, November time frame. Again, speculation, not confirmed, but this event is so lackluster and sad overall that I feel it's not really worth rolling. So let me know what you think about this event. Like, do you think Madoo is really worth pursuing? Do you think you'd actually spend your magic stones here? I include a nice little handy poll at the end of my articles now for these. Like, you vote and you can see what people have. So hopefully you all have a fantastic day. I wish you all the best luck in your own pet adventures, and happy puzzling.